This is time that I now want us to unpack what just happened yesterday by looking at the state of the race. And I want to introduce the panelists that are here in studio, starting with Edward Muriu, who is Legal Affairs Secretary within UDA. Good morning.
Morning, Simon. How are you?
I'm great.
Yeah, thank you for giving us an opportunity to come and canvass these great matters, issues of this country just unleashed.
All right.
And also say hi to my people from Gatanga constituency.
Don't worry, I'll give you that opportunity.
Thank you very much. You know they are my boss.
Right, let me just introduce the panel. And then you have Dan Manzo, Member of Parliament for Makueni, and of course, very instrumental in the management of Wiper Party. Good morning.
Good morning.
And then you have Herman Manyora, a political commentator, but also a lecturer at the University of Nairobi. Good morning.
Morning, Sam.
And joining us virtually is one Javas Bigambo. He is also a governance expert, an analyst, and also a lawyer here in the city. And he'll be joining us shortly to share his thoughts. But I want us to begin by looking at, of course, that big story. On the front page of the Daily Nation, you see Ruto's biggest gamble yet. A celebration, dance and revulsion, great pick. And then still on the front page of the Standard, they call it Kivumbi 2022, where Ruto went against MPs to pick Gachagua. Tharaka Nithi Senator Kithure Kindiki was most favorite for running mate, with an internal UDA vote placing him way ahead. But after a night of intrigues, DP went for loyalty and numbers. Let me begin with you, Herman, because remember on Saturday night, you were speaking to Citizen TV on the word that was going round, that it was likely to be Kithure Kindiki. Now it's Rigathi Gachagua. How does this affect your views that time, and how do you take it, Ruto making such a decision? Is it a gamble, like Daily Nation is saying, or is it a sure bet to success?
I think I knew all along it was going to be, I suspected rather, that it was going to be Gachagua. I remember saying it here, and I also remember a tweet I released that gave me a lot of bad whatever. So I think it was always going to be Gachagua because anything else would have been a little tricky for him. Of course, a running mate from Mount Kenya was not going to add votes to Ruto. He already has his votes on the mountain. But Gachagua came with advantages these others didn't have. You know, he was from Mount Kenya West, which is to say proper Mount Kenya. Kindiki came from the peripheral part of Mount Kenya. Not only was he coming from Mount Kenya East, but a peripheral part of Mount Kenya East, the reality of our Kenyan politics. It was going to be difficult for Ruto. So Gachagua had an upper hand. Gachagua has pockets. Elections are about resources. Gachagua has resources. He's assertive. He's combative. He can mobilize. He has grassroots abilities that Kindiki doesn't have. But Kindiki, what I said was, if you put all the people who are jostling for that position, none of them was like Kindiki. Kindiki was above all of them. I mean, if he's educated, young, articulate, he was everything, except he didn't have the pockets and he didn't have networks and grassroots support. But he was, I mean, the best by far.
Which are key for any consideration of a running mate in this election? On
it's not always those good things. You see? And also you must remember, whichever part of Mount Kenya Ruto picked running mate from, there were always going to be issues. So you look at the one that will bring the minimal issues. Because when you put Gachagua there, you must deal with the Mount Kenya question, East question. There will be some backlash, especially from Tharaka and so on and so on, some parts of Meru. You must also deal with the Murang'a question. This Murang'a question, this man comes from Gatanga. This Murang'a question is not something you can wish away. And it is eating Raila's head, I'm telling you. Even Raila, this Murang'a question is eating his head. Yeah.
And Edward, of course, we've heard so much, including that it took opinion polls that showed Kindiki was leading. It took real voting by some members of parliament or members of parliament from the Mount Kenya region, which Kindiki was winning. But then again, the deputy president still insisted on Rigathi Gachagua. Is it that he came with a decision already made and was just trying to formalize it, or is it real public participation from those leaders from Mount Kenya?
Thank you, Sam. As you all know, UDA party is a democratic party. And though the Constitution gives the president or the nominated president to choose the candidate for the deputy president, we like building consensus on each and every issue, even where is an exclusivity of the deputy president. And this is a culmination of about 3 months conversation, looking at all the pros and cons. I agree with you. The polls were in favor of Kindiki. I agree with you. Even the people who balloted, myself included, the majority were in favor of Kindiki. But remember, this is what called a wartime situation. I wish deputy presidents are appointed after the election. Then I want to agree with my friend Manyora that Kindiki would have been the best. But in the circumstances, you find that you appoint the deputy president before the election. We are heading to a very, very heated national elections. The president himself has said clearly that he will wake up and go to Mount Kenya and try to push the votes in favor of Raila Amolo Odinga. So definitely, we must factor in all that as we go to war. And therefore, you find that in all parameters, Rigathi Gachagua stands the best gun we have in central Kenya. He's a guy who can be able to. He was a guy, first and foremost, who knows the temperament of the president. He has been his personal assistant for many years. So he knows what he's going to say. He knows what to touch. And therefore, if you read the book called The Sun Tzu, The Art of War, you get the right match for the battle. You don't go look for a stranger. You go and look for the right person to be able to hammer. Our biggest threat in UDA, and I can tell you in the national TV, is that Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta has said he's going to galvanize campaign for Raila Amolo Odinga. So therefore, as we choose a deputy president, we need to look for someone who can be able to face that challenge squarely to ensure that, number one, Mount Kenya votes are locked under UDA. But
in terms of, because, yeah, fine, you said that's to take you to the next level after winning the election. But upon winning the election, do you see the right temperament in the ticket now to lead this country?
I have no doubt. Remember, these two people have come a long, long, long way. They did meet yesterday. And they've gone through through the ditches after the handshake. I think everybody knows what went through on the Ruto side. And Rigathi Gachagua was part. He stood with the deputy president, and therefore over the years they have built a bit of loyalty. They have built a lot of friendship, and again, Rigathi Gachagua has taken his all to ensure that he's defended the deputy president in all what has gone on. And thirdly, he's a good political mobilizer. He's a good political mobilizer. And therefore, in time like this, when the general elections are so close and very highly contested, the best gun for this election is none other than Rigathi Gachagua.
I hear you. Dan Manzo, what are your thoughts about this pick? And of course, on this other side, never mind the challenges that you have, which we'll be talking about. But how do you see that ticket of Ruto Rigathi? Is it beatable?
Well, there was only one disadvantage with my good friend, Senator Kindiki. You see, similarly that affects Honorable Munya. You see, already when to come to balancing of the country, already the Chief Justice comes from that region. So automatically, any other person from that region cannot go to a top seat like a deputy president, because you've got to look at regional balance, whatever side, whether it is Azimio side or whether it is UDA side. And I think that's one of the things which must have been considered, because you have to think of the rest of the country. You make Mount Kenya East happy, but what happened to the rest of the country? And I think that must have been one of the tilts which saw my good friend lose that opportunity. But again, also, if you look at Rigathi Gachagua, he is, his backyard was already, putting a lot of pressure and issue threats and Although Honorable Rigathi himself said he will accept whatever is the outcome, that central rich vote region, central Kenya, was already putting a lot of pressure from the grassroots. And I think finally a politician must listen to the grassroots.
Do you think it was spontaneous, it was choreographed?
For me, I think it was planned a long time ago. I think it was planned a long time ago. I don't think Honorable Rigathi had done the preparation to go back as a member of parliament. He was already determined and he knew he must be deputy president. So I think he prepared himself a long time ago, and the decision was also made long time ago. And from experience, that's how political decisions are made.
There's something you raise. I had not thought about that, I have to be honest, about the Chief Justice and her coming from Meru region. Javas Bigambo is now joining us via way of Zoom. Good morning, Javas. And of course, we were hoping that this announcement and we would have this conversation on Saturday. It never happened, but eventually happened yesterday after all those conversations, saying that it took about 17 hours. And we are told that the Deputy President stuck with Rigathi despite the members of Parliament standing with Senator Kindiki. How have you received this decision, and how do you see that ticket on how it compares to the opponents from Azimio la Umoja One Kenya Alliance?
Well, thank you so much. Various Kenyans, or very many Kenyans, have been surprised by this, to me, unsurprising decision to nominate Honorable Rigathi Gachagua as Deputy President William Ruto's most preferred running mate. And I call it unsurprising because for some time right now, I have indicated on various occasions that there is a way if one studies William Ruto, will realize that he's quite a schemer and he works with data. When you look at Honorable Kindiki Kithure compared to or with Honorable Rigathi Gachagua, there are certain things that set them apart. The first thing is this. Honorable Rigathi Gachagua has, over the last very many months, demonstrated that he can gel and connect with the people, especially the ordinary masses. And he is able to speak to their passions and instincts and desires. There is what the voters most of the time on the campaign trail desire to hear. When you listen to Honorable Rigathi Gachagua, you get to see that he can really whip up emotions. He can speak to the interests of the ordinary common man, especially in Mount Kenya. Honorable Deputy President William Ruto is desirous to have at least 70, 80% or 85% of the registered voters in Mount Kenya or Mount Kenya region. And I think that's what informed the choice of Rigathi Gachagua. Other people, for example, have said, and even when he appeared on Citizen TV last night, prime time, 9 p.m., the question that was thrown to him about the issue of allegations of graft, etc. Now, when you also examine, for example, the issue of allegations, especially in the political terrain, you realize that in this country of ours, here in Kenya, the issue of the seriousness of the allegations of graft seems to be a middle-class concern. The people that are the lower ranks of society do not really understand or appreciate that Honorable Rigathi Gachagua is associated with graft. They don't know what he stole, what he may have stole, and what actually he is facing in terms of the trial that's facing in court. Other than that, you realize that the upper level of society, the rich people, none of them may have a problem with Rigathi Gachagua, because most rich people in this country, especially those in the political circles, may have acquired their wealth nearly exactly the same way that Rigathi Gachagua has acquired his wealth. So the poor people, the lower ranks of society, and the topmost rank of society may not have a problem with Rigathi Gachagua in this election.
Right.
It may be a middle-class issue. And that's why when you also examine the voting patterns in this country, the middle class, most of the time, do not determine so much in terms of outcome during the voting period. And this, therefore, may not the mud may not stick on Rigathi Gachagua. So the deputy president may have looked at that. He may also have been informed by their history in 2013 that when Uhuru Kenyatta and William Ruto, as they then were, went to seek the electorate support to run as president and deputy president, having a millstone round their neck that the ICC case was, the people had so much sympathy to them. Remember, when you look at the preamble opening of the Constitution, it says, we, the people, give unto ourselves this Constitution. Article 1 of the Constitution speaks to the sovereignty of the people. The people are sovereign. And in the end, in this election, if the sovereign will determine that they want to be led by William Ruto and Rigathi Gachagua, or Raila Odinga and whoever he will nominate, the sovereign will be led exactly by whom it is that they have settled on or desire to be led. And so that's why I think the arithmetics in this election and the settlement on Rigathi Gachagua is purely have informed by data and the manner in which Rigathi Gachagua can gel and can whip up the emotions and the masses in central Kenya, a feat that Honorable Kithure Kindiki seems to be struggling with, because the central Kenya is yet to appreciate Professor Kithure Kindiki as their voice, as their person, as the person that they want to identify with, compared to Rigathi Gachagua.
Okay, all right. And of course, Herman, looking at the statistics from Mount Kenya region, based on the latest numbers of IBC, it shows that the 10 counties, that is including Laikipia and Nakuru County, have a total of 5.8 million voters, registered voters. For Mount Kenya East, that is Meru, Tharaka Nithi, and Embu County, they have 1.35 million votes. Does this decision in any way interfere with how those numbers will be spread across the two main formations?
Well, first of all, Sam, a running mate from Mount Kenya was not going to add much to Ruto's numbers. He's already worked hard for those numbers. But I also said that there will always be games and intrigues. So if you choose Kindiki, you are going to start some reaction from Mount Kenya West. And likewise, because of what people think is unfair treatment to Kindiki, you expect some few hundred thousands of votes, 200, 150. That would have been Ruto's, either to stay away from the vote or vote for Raila Odinga. Those are expected things in elections. Secondly, depending on the choice, like I've said before, there are going to be certain openings for the opponents now. The opponents are going to get some crack through which they can pass. So if you put Rigathi Gachagua as your running mate, apart from dealing with things like the Mount Kenya East question, the Murang'a question, I want to agree with Javas that the voter, who is really the people down there, don't give a damn about how much you have stolen and how you stole it. It's of no consequence. And the middle class that should care doesn't care anyway, because they don't move into action beyond the keyboard. They don't. However, there's an aspect of Gachagua you must deal with that could affect the voter. In other words, he has a past which, if their opponents were to exploit properly, it will come to haunt them, and it will affect...
That is within Mount Kenya or outside?
Within Mount Kenya, because Gachagua, my friend, has an association with Kanu and Moi that is not altogether very beautiful, okay? Things you don't want really to say on air, because these are good people, you know? And now, it depends on how people unearth those kind of things and what benefit they get out of that.
Right.
Because this is politics. People say the shirt you are wearing, since you know, we know how you got it. It's a nice shirt, by the way, how you got it. Then it could affect the number of votes. So it's not easy. So those 5.8 million votes that are his mainly will have to be reduced because of small things like the ones I'm saying. Also, it's interesting because Ruto is learning these things the hard way. He had said choosing a running mate was a simple thing. He has learned it's not as easy because it's about power. Secondly, Ruto is also learning that it is not always possible to make people have their, have a say. If people should have a say, then Kindiki should be there, the running mate, because he tried to convince his own colleagues. Several rounds of voting, I understand. Many hours later, his colleagues, his lieutenants, the members of parliament and other leaders were telling him, Kithure.
Right.
But he now learns that in politics, it's not just Uhuru or Raila. You get to a point where you'll have to tell Dan Manzo, no, enough is enough. I'll have to have my way because I'm the boss. You get to see learning those kind of things because it is about power.
And I'll shortly be looking at the slides that we have that would show how the members of parliament and the opinion polls were voting. But first, let's listen to Deputy President William Ruto as he made that announcement that Kenyans had been anticipating for so long.
I present to you the Kenya Kwanza running mate candidate, my brother and friend, Rigathi Gachagua. That good Kenyan, my friend, whom I have worked with, especially on the economic model that now has famously been referred to the bottom-up economic model. And we started that journey together. He understands people issues. He is passionate about ordinary people, a living example of a true hustler who rose from the hardships of the aftermath of our freedom struggle to the pinnacle of professional, business, and political success.
There are many in our alliance who are qualified for this position, and any one of them would have been up to the task. Your Excellency, our Deputy President, the trust and confidence you have shown in me is a privilege, and I'll do my very best to live up to those expectations. Thank you, Your Excellency. I will not let you down. I will not let the Hustler Nation down. I will not let the people of Kenya down.
All right, that is Deputy President William Ruto and Rigathi Gachagua, the candidate who, if elected, will become the Deputy President, the second under the new constitution. But let's take a look at what was transpiring as these conversations of 17 hours were going on. And we begin with the opinion polls. The first opinion poll taken from 10 Mount Kenya counties, the respondents are supposed to be 10,000. And it appeared that the most popular candidate for running mate was Kithure Kindiki. Then, at some point, 31 members of parliament present voted, and 22 voted for Kithure Kindiki, 5 voted for Rigathi Gachagua, and of course, there were 2, I think, that voted for Anne Waiguru. 1 voted for Justin Muturi, and 1 was a spoilt vote. There was a second opinion poll, the region, countrywide, respondents were 25,000. The most popular candidate for running mate of William Ruto was Kithure Kindiki. These were the contenders, Alice Wahome, Ndindi Nyoro, Justin Muturi, and then there were Anne Waiguru, Kithure Kindiki, and Rigathi Gachagua, but ultimately William Ruto chose Rigathi Gachagua for running mate. And so, Muriu, because you come from that political party, of course, these 22 members of parliament who did not choose Rigathi but chose Kindiki, they must have had certain concerns that they feel needed to be included in that consideration. So what do you tell them now? I know Rigathi Gachagua says that it is the decision of the candidate, it's not the decision of members of parliament, because that may be their personal opinion. But whatever opinions they had, how do you take care of them moving forward?
Now, that issue, and I want to agree with you, was canvassed for like a whole day and whole night. And remember, what the Deputy President wanted to do is to pull everybody together. Because one of the things, and I was one of the 31 members who voted, and one of the clarion call for the Deputy President was to ensure that he wants us to go to the general election, to the campaigns as one team. Remember, he had the magnanimity of going it alone and make a decision and come and surprise everybody in the press conference. But again, what happened is that he brought us, all of us together, put all the data on the table, and we were told to do a vote. Eventually, what culminated to this conversation was that there was a side which was very strongly supporting Gachagua. There was this other side which was strongly saying it is Kindiki.
But it's 5 versus 22.
Yes, correct. But remember, also there were issues about the issue about the polls and the popularity of the pair, each pair against our contenders. But eventually, the entire team agreed that since we have all expressed our desires, we have done what's supposed to be done, let now give that responsibility of choosing the deputy president to the person who is supposed to carry that load, and that is the deputy president. And we left him past midnight to go and make a decision. And we said, all of us, that whatever decision he was going to make, he's going to make a decision for all Kenyans, not only the leaders. He's going to make decision bearing the circumstances, and furthermore, is a man who is bearing the entire responsibility of the UDA party in terms of delivering success. And remember, Sam, when we heard our NDC 2 months ago, we saw in the deputy president as a team leader, and one of the responsibilities we gave him is that go out, bring us like-minded people. Go out, bring out like-minded leaders who can be able to join together. Go out, bring us the best deputy president UDA can be able to get in the circumstances. So again, we can't be able to give us a responsibility and at the same time deny him. I think we'll be double speaking.
There's something you just mentioned there, that there were different pairs, opinion polls with different pairs against what is happening on the other side. Which was the most favorable pair?
Remember there were pairs, for example, there was a pair between H.E. Ruto and Kindiki, of course, from the polls, as you have demonstrated over here, it was ahead. There was a pair of Ruto and Waiguru. Again, it came about number 3 or thereabout, and also the pairing of Uhuru and Kindiki. Ruto and Rigathi, which came like number 2. But that is against the obvious choice of the Azimio wing, which is Raila and Martha.
So you're telling me a pairing of Raila and Martha was beaten by Ruto Kindiki, yeah?
Yes.
And pairing of Raila Martha beat Ruto Rigathi?
Not exactly. What I'm trying to say, long and short, we did a matrix in terms of if we pair Ruto, Waiguru, and Kindiki and Rigathi. How do we fare when we are passing, when we are in a political competition with Raila Martha? The facts still remain that the Kindiki was scoring higher, but not because the Azimio aspect was beating the trial. No, what happened is that the margin was narrower, but of course Kindiki the margin was much higher. But again,
so who was beating who? Raila with Martha and
all the 3 of them.
Ruto and Rigathi. Who was beating who?
All the 3 of them, they were beating Martha, Raila. Team.
Okay.
But what happened is that the margins were a bit different, and that's what we're saying. Your win, what you're trying to say, long and short, is that the margin was higher for Kindiki, and therefore we started and asked ourselves, okay. First and foremost, we have a good problem, and the good problem is that we have good deputy president in our team who can be able to beat the other coalition hands down. But the question is it only the margins which matter in this matrix, or the other factors? Okay. And that's why I said, remember also, Sam, that politics about personal interest is about these leaders who are voting for Kindiki. Do they find him a soft ground to go and cajole him and ask for favors? And they find it difficult to deal with Rigathi? So all those things you need to factor all that. But I think in the bigger sphere of issues, The point is that who is our best gun? Number one, to guard the 5.8 million votes in Mount Kenya.
Okay.
And number two, who is our best soldier to ensure that he can be able to face the other team on the other side heads on. That's the only consideration.
All right, I want us to take a short break so that we can come back with this. I know, Herman, you are itching to respond. Just note it down. I'll also be listening to Dan Manzo and Javas Bigambo on what they have to say about this, but that is after the break. Of course, you're talking about the state of the race. The Kenya Kwanza formation has already declared its ticket, presidential ticket. This is the day that we expect that Azimio la Umoja One Kenya coalition will be declaring theirs. Of course, Wiper has threatened that they'll be going to court. Is it true? Will they? And what happens after that? We talk about that with Dan Manzo here in studio. Stay tuned.